Marvel fans, we need to talk. There are some brand new updates about Kevin Feige's plan for the new MCU X-Men. Some of it sounds freaking awesome. Some of it's like, what? But it's all coming from a reliable source. This comes from Daniel RPK, who has been on fire with the scoops lately. Marvel met with some writers for their upcoming X-Men reboot. The idea is to focus on the female characters, with Mr. Sinister as the main villain. Right now, they don't want Magneto in it at all. They want it to feel different than other X-Men films. Okay, so first up, I absolutely love the Mr. Sinister character, and we'll get into that in just a second. But I just want to touch on this whole focusing on the female characters thing. I know a lot of you guys got upset at the MCU video I recently did. I do believe Marvel has swung that pendulum just way too far, and they need actual male energy. They need to kind of macho up the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But having said that, the X-Men actually have the best female characters out of any franchise ever. And so it's not really that big of a deal that they're focusing on the female characters, but if they just did a proper X-Men thing, you would have a great mix of awesome female characters and awesome male characters. And so I do get a little bit concerned when I hear them say focus on the female characters, especially when you consider the fact that they're going to make the Silver Surfer female and the main villain of the Fantastic Four movie, and that movie's supposed to focus on Sue Storm. And you're also going to have the new X-Men be female-centric in focus. And again, I know our opinions vary on that. It might be fine, but I just wanted to bring up that I was absolutely correct, and this is just something that Kevin Feige just keeps doing. As for the focus on Mr. Sinister, that is freaking awesome. I love the Mr. Sinister character. So this guy is like a scientist and a geneticist who's human initially, but eventually becomes a mutant with the actual X gene by experimentation and messing with his own genes. He gets empowered by Apocalypse, and he's so brilliant that Apocalypse uses Mr. Sinister to help him help create more mutants, help make mutants more powerful. Sinister actually ends up betraying Apocalypse, kind of doing his own thing, and then eventually in comics, there are so many different clones and chimeras of Mr. Sinister that you don't even know if the original one is even still alive. Fascinating character, super cool character design, and the whole idea of him being a scientist, having clones of other X-Men. There's a lot of storytelling potential with Mr. Sinister as the main focus. I think this is especially true because so far, all we have seen with mutants and X-Men in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is just the mentioning of the mutation that they have. This is mentioned with Namor. This is mentioned with Kamala Khan, and I think that leads to Sinister being a kind of character that could be keeping an eye on all of this stuff and sort of understanding it. And as the X-Men and the mutants emerge in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it would be fascinating to see a character like Sinister be a big bad that is doing something malicious to the mutants with the mutants or something like that. So again, the storytelling potential there is off the chart.
Yeah, boy.
I also just have to state the obvious for any comic book nerd, and that would be the fact that if you're talking about Sinister and you're talking about female characters, you're talking about Jean Grey. Jean Grey was a character that Sinister was obsessed with. He successfully clones Jean Grey, and one of those clones, Madame Pryor, ends up having a child with Scott Summers. That child is Cable, and the Summers bloodline was also something that Sinister was obsessed with. He thought the Summers had very good genetics to pass on and to create incredibly powerful mutants. And ironically, Cyclops' optic blasts are one of the only things that can truly damage Sinister's new body that Apocalypse gives him. And there's this whole angle with Apocalypse and Cable and time travel and Sinister. But I don't think they're gonna go too crazy on the Apocalypse Cable connection because again, in the report, it is suggesting that they want to do something very different than what came before in the Fox X-Men films. And we've already seen Cable and Apocalypse in those Fox X-Men movies. So I'm kind of down. Again, you're gonna have Jean Grey, maybe there's a little bit of Phoenix stuff going on there. I think you'll have Cyclops, and I'm damn sure that Sinister is going to be obsessed with Cyclops. That sounds really good, but the last thing we got to talk about is a lack of Magneto. And this one's really tough for me, man. I personally feel like the differences between Charles Xavier and Magneto are the bedrock of the entire X-Men comic book run. I think the X-Men are heroes that fight to save and protect a world that literally hates them. They are different. They have this X gene, and they are discriminated upon for having that X gene. And humanity wants to control them, fears them, hates them. And then you've got these two guys. You've got Magneto and you've got Charles Xavier. And Magneto thinks, screw these humans. Mutants should be the rightful rulers of Earth. These people will just destroy us. We need to take the fight to them. We need to actually subjugate the humans. Mutant kind will win if we do this. And then you've got Charles Xavier that's like, no, man, that's the wrong way. Two wrongs don't make a right. You can't become what these people are and then think that you are better than them. That's not how this works. That's not how we win hearts and minds. And that's not what we should be doing as humans and as mutants. Like, the differences between those two characters is like the whole freaking thing with the X-Men. So I just think that it's crazy to do any big X-Men thing, anything with the mutants, and not include Magneto. On top of that, the whole idea of like Scarlet Witch and Pietro and maybe even Ralph Boner being connected to Magneto, Wanda being the daughter of Magneto, that's like a huge freaking part of the X-Men thing. I can't believe it. But apparently Feige is so interested in being different. He wants his X-Men to be so different and unique compared to all the other X-Men stuff that has happened before that he literally doesn't want to use Magneto at all. And I just gotta say, I think that's a huge L, and there's a part of me that's really concerned. I mean, when you start talking about like, oh, we want to be different, it's just smelling a little bit like the Feige that we've got from the past couple of years, who has, in my opinion, made horrible decisions and put out some really bad movies and shows that have really fractured and divided the audience. So as hyped up as I am for the MCU X-Men, and as excited as I am about Sinister and, you know, Jean Grey and, you know, your Rogues, your Storms, your Emma Frost, your Kitty Prydes, fantastic female characters, I do get a little worried when I hear that they want to make it so different and they don't want to do Magneto. They just want to focus on the gals. So yeah, it's a mixed bag, man. There's a lot of stuff that I'm excited about here. I also want to mention there's a new report from a relatively new scooper known as HD Cryptic Dude or whatever his name is. This guy is claiming that there's multiple mutant or X-Men projects in development right now, and he also claims that the next saga, the entire next thing for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is going to be mutant focused, that the Avengers are going to take a back seat. Now I'm going to do a full video on that because that's kind of interesting, but I suppose that opens up a whole plethora of possibilities, and maybe the female focus is just for the X-Men team itself. Maybe we'll have a bunch of awesome macho male mutant and X-Men characters in the fold. And either way, man, like, this stuff just has to be awesome. Like, Marvel needs to go for it, and they need to go for it with really popular characters and do some really fun things. The X-Men are awesome. The mutants are awesome. I have this slight concern that things have just been so bad with Marvel for so long that they're going to sort of now need to work against fan expectations and just the disgruntled nature of where many fans are at. And frankly, I am still concerned that the current regime over at Marvel just might not actually still have their mojo. Like, if we just do the Fantastic Four and we do the mutants and X-Men the way we've been doing Phase 5 and Phase 4, like, it's over. But that's the report. So you guys let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And as I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.